Let me ask you a question. Have you ever wondered why in folklore all of the wishing magic comes with a downside? You know, monkey paw, genie, etc. The whole be careful what you wish for. Always a weird and arbitrary thing in our modern world, don't you think? Well, blood magic is the reason why these things exist. Blood magic is a personal magic whose main purpose is to manipulate reality by burning blood. This magic is probably the third/fourth type of magic ever discovered by humanity. The scientists still argue on whether or not it or elemental magic came earlier. It doesn't matter much. What matters for our lesson here is that it's old and it also introduced us to the principle of equivalent exchange. Our world is consistent. Everything in the world serves a function. Everything in the world has energy. Energy can't be created or destroyed. It can only be converted from one form to another. A mage uses CO2 in his body to convert into tangible effects on our reality. Now tell me, what part of the human body has the most amount of CO2 in it? Starting to get it, right? Blood magic, at its most basic, rough form, is the ability to understand exactly how much energy needs to be converted for the desired effect. When we create magic, we don't really have a user interface that tells us, oh, you've created a skin suit, there goes minus 50% of your mana. No. Like language or any other technical skill, humans kind of learn it as they go along until all of the calculations just go by themselves in the back of our minds. Not for blood mages. Blood mages always see, know, and understand the exact amount of CO2 that needs to be used for any magical effect. Any magical effect. Even if it's something that shouldn't really be possible by a mage, they know and they are able to create it so long as they have enough energy to use. Ergo, they have enough blood. This is the blood mage's biggest strength and biggest weakness. Nothing is really outside of limits when dealing with a blood mage, because ultimately speaking, the only thing they need to worry about is their available mana pool, not much else. They can strip you from your skin, create portals into other worlds, resurrect people, deform reality to turn you into a billionaire, and create insulation for spaceships. To demonstrate how it works, let me explain to you a typical training exercise for young blood mages. Turn water into wine. It's a fairly simple thing to do, energy cheap, and also allows the mage to understand their own talents better. Here we have a glass of water. To turn it into wine, the mage just needs to imagine water being replaced with wine. After that, they burn the amount of blood they already know to require, and there. The water turns to wine. From an outsider's perspective, it really is just that, especially if the mage uses their own blood, which they are most likely to do when they're untrained. The wine, if tasted, will taste like the most generic red wine you can imagine. And here lies the most complicated thing to describe to people who don't know how it functions. While the ultimate effect will be the same, how the mage comes to it depends on his own imagination. In fact, the taste of this wine will depend a lot on the imagination and the knowledge of the mage, because the more vividly they can imagine the effect, the better tasting wine they'll get as a result. Imagination is also responsible for generating their internal user interface, or intuition as it is traditionally called. To some, this will feel as if an angel asks them if this is the thing they want to do. To some, it'll feel as if they're signing a contract. Young mages who are familiar with touchscreen phones and the isekai genre will get a typical game menu with confirm or deny written on it, while blood mages with aphantasia don't get anything. The effect just appears once they think of it. It is an interesting phenomenon, which is commonly cited by people who believe in the meme theory of magic, but you can ask your history of magic teacher for that. The burning of blood part is literal. The blood inside the body, or upon the touch of the mage, starts to vaporize at fast rates, the released CO2 immediately disappearing. If the blood used by the mage is external, he needs to have direct contact with either blood directly or the vessel. Spontaneous use of large amounts of blood inside the body may result in bends though, so best be prepared to some severe muscle pain or get used to cutting yourself to mitigate it. Hopefully this explains to you why these sons of guns are very dangerous opponents to handle. Anything they can think of is possible, so long as they have enough energy to convert. But that's the thing though. Turns out that infinite magic requires infinite amount of blood to fuel it, and humans have a limited supply of it, and they're only human. In fact, owing to it being a personal magic, blood magic also comes with a specific form of anthropocentrism. Blood mage is instinctively proud of being a human, so much so that their magic is tied to this sense of humanity. What this means depends from person to person, but almost all of them have a specific disdain for anything that augments the pure human form. Implants of any kind, soul enhancement, and even something as benign as crutches or a wheelchair or a hearing device can be met with violent repulsion and hatred. It has been documented that blood mages actively lose their abilities if they're forced to augment themselves. And you may ask now, okay, but didn't you say they can create anything they want? Can't they just create more blood out of thin air and be effectively unstoppable? See, that's another weakness of this magic. Magic in general, if you recall, is the ability to follow rules that are above nature. A mage can do this in many ways by disregarding the price for doing that. But once you understand the price, you become bound to the material laws of the universe in a way no other mage is. The second law of thermodynamics is a thing no mage can really escape without breaking the international law. Not all CO2 used is used directly for the effect. Up to 40% of it is used to heat up the air, and that's always included in calculations. One would think it would be better to just use raw CO2, but unfortunately blood, human blood, is the only medium they can use for their magic. Partially because of the way our blood is structured, partially because they're psychologically incapable of using anything but. What beautiful irony, don't you agree? And that's our wrap for the first block. In the pinned comment, you find the last questionnaire for this block that features a test. Person who scores at least 80 points will get rewarded with something nice. Or not. I'm not your boss.